We make nearly 50 billion shoes every year, and nearly all of them end up in landfills. Now, a company in the Netherlands claims it's figured out how to recycle footwear, processing up to 2,500 shoes per hour. And some big brands like Adidas say they're trying to cut down on waste too, by using materials made from ocean plastic. So why is it so hard to recycle shoes? And are any of the big brand efforts making it easier? Your typical running shoe can contain about 40 different parts and dozens of different materials. These include plastic, nylon, metal, rubber, and something called ethylene vinyl acetate that's basically a kind of foam. For most mass-produced shoes, the layers are held together with powerful glue. And that's what makes these products so hard to break down and recycle. Getting rid of the glue is important, because any remaining sticky residue would contaminate the separated materials. And shoemakers need these materials in their purest form to make new shoes. Entrepreneurs Danny Pormes and his wife Erna say they found a way to recycle every single part of the shoe.
For all the materials, we do have the solution.
The company, Fast Feet Grinded, or FFG for short, gets shoes from the Dutch military, from collection boxes in stores, and sometimes directly from manufacturers. They pay FFG to dispose of defective shoes or pairs returned by customers. First, you need to separate them by type. FFG operates a completely automated mechanical system that doesn't use chemicals like glue solvents to separate the different components. Danny tried everything, from microwave ovens to irons.
Tried to do it myself, dismantling shoes by hand. Did all those full stuff.
In the end, a series of machines that use heat and friction proved to be the most effective method.
And this is where the magic happens.
One machine heats the shoes to remove the glue. Then another separates the different materials. Beyond using heat and friction, the company wouldn't share any further details about its process. But we do know that the final products are separated by type, with the foam and rubber being ground down into tiny particles.
So the rubber will be rubber without any contamination, without any glue.
FFG also isolates the other materials from the shoe, like fabric from the uppers that can be spun into yarn to make new shoelaces, and metals from steel-toed safety shoes. Danny and Erna started their recycling journey in their running shop.
I've got a vision, but my wife is a business wife. We started together 20 years ago, and if she wasn't there, I was totally done.
We are willing to change the whole shoe industry. It's very hard, but we are doing it.
They opened their shoe store, Runner's World Horn, in 2004, offering tailored recommendations to customers depending on their style of running. Danny, an ex-Marine, won contracts to supply Dutch soldiers with sneakers, and then
the Dutch government asked us, about 8 years ago to think about recycling, thinking about a return program, and that's basically how Fast Feet Grinded started.
FFG also partnered with Asics to figure out how to make new sneakers from old ones. But shoemakers say recycled materials come with limitations.
If we take our highest performance running shoe, making that entirely from circular recycled materials, it won't have the same functional properties still.
For now, the shoes Asics makes from old materials are not meant for high-performance running.
Our ultimate goal would be that they are just as functional, just as good as all our running products. And hopefully it will not be just a cool side project, but something that we can really implement into the way we make shoes at large.
Companies around the world are trying to figure out how to make a less wasteful shoe. Adidas, which makes more than 420 million pairs of shoes every year, has a couple of products in development. In 2015, the company began making sneakers and other apparel using plastic garbage collected from the ocean. The plastic gets crushed into flakes, heated, and cooled into pellets before being spun into a polyester filament, that can be used to make the sneakers uppers. But that still leaves us with a shoe that can't be entirely recycled. In 2021, Adidas unveiled a shoe made entirely out of virgin plastic, with no glue holding it together. The Futurecraft Loop was designed to be recycled into future generations of the same shoe. Adidas says that using only one material lets it break down the shoe and recycle it without fear of contaminants. But the plan only works if the company can convince customers to return the old pairs. While big companies experiment with recyclable sneakers, researchers at UC San Diego have looked at making footwear from biodegradable materials. Steve Mayfield and his team turned to algae for an environmentally friendly flip-flop.
They are the most efficient photosynthetic organisms on the planet.
In 2021, we visited Steve's lab in San Diego. The process for turning algae into flip-flops is surprisingly simple. The shoe consists of a footbed made from flexible foam, an outsole made of a more rigid foam, and a cotton strap. To make the foam pieces, the researchers use an industrial machine to mix together compounds created from algae oil.
This is the same machine you'd see if you went into any one of the shoe manufacturers in the world. We want to make sure that the research and the work we do here is relevant to the real world, to the commercial world.
The machine pours the mixture into molds. The team then applies heat, and the foam expands into the shape of a shoe. They wait about 10 minutes for the foam to cure, then peel the pieces out and assemble the finished product.
You put the strap through here and then put the back two parts here, you glue that on, and then this entire thing glues, and that's it. That's all the shoe is. So the manufacturing of these things is also really straightforward.
The sandal is 100% biodegradable. It takes 3 to 6 months to break down in a compost pile, or if it ends up in the ocean, it would take about a year. Steve and his team have partnered with the brand Reef and plan to sell an algae sandal by the summer of 2024. Over in India, another entrepreneur is inverting this process. Instead of saving shoes from the landfill, he's turning the landfill into shoes. Akshay Bhave started Theli in 2021 when he was just 23 years old. We profiled his business later that year.
Theli because it is the Hindi word for plastic bags.
Each pair contains 10 plastic bags and 12 bottles. They clean the bags in a hot tub filled only with water, without any added chemicals, and then hang them out to dry. Inside the warehouse, Sairuddin stacks 8 to 10 layers of bags at a time.
दिन में कम से कम 100 बना लेता हूँ.
Then places the pile under a heat press. This finished product will cover most of the sneaker. The company's founder calls it Theli-Tex.
So it's a material that's made entirely out of waste plastic bags without the use of any chemicals.
Sairuddin packs and ships them 7 hours north to the Nitush footwear factory. That's where the shoe will be assembled. First, Theli-Tex sheets are die cut using metal forms. Other patterns are cut from rPET fabric, which is made from recycled bottles, and woven into something like canvas. The workers stitch the two types of materials together. The assembled upper gets stretched out. Theli's soles are made from crumbs of industrial rubber. A worker needs to rough the sole on this grinder, so the glue added in the next step will adhere. They coat the top of the sole with a clear glue. A special UV light increases its stickiness. The shoes go through a series of heat treatments and coats to strengthen the bond between the sole and the upper. Then comes the final round of stitching. Theli's laces are also made from recycled plastic. This factory employs 170 people and makes shoes for 3 different companies.
We wanted to make sure that we're still using existing sneaker manufacturing techniques. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel.
Nitush turns out 15,000 pairs of shoes every week, and they try to recycle everything, even scraps.
It's recycled and some of it is also reused to make more Teletech sheets.
The company sold 300 pairs of sneakers in its first month and says the shoes are built to last.
It's extremely durable. It lasts like any other sneaker for about 2 to 3 years, depending on how it is used.
Back in the Netherlands, Willem Tertola's company is using old shoe materials on a new mini soccer pitch.
Danny gave me a call because he saw that on the internet that I make artificial rubber floors. And he wanted to talk with me about the possibilities and the ideas he had about recycling shoes. This is the beginning of something.
Workers mix the ground shoes with a polymer binder and spread it over a concrete foundation to provide a soft and bouncy surface for play. It's a fitting new life for many of the sneakers that may have been worn by the people who play here. A company called Exclusive International turns FFG's materials into displays, like these ones at Asics headquarters.
We're bringing between 45 and 60% of the grind in the material, and we bring them back in this sheet material. This is specific PVC from Dr. Martens outsole. Here you can see the yellow stitching back in the regrind.
Back at FFG, Danny and Erna are still honing their process, occasionally with the help of their 4 children. The family has faced many hurdles, including a fire that completely gutted their first recycling plant in 2022.
So everything burned down, nothing been saved.
But within 10 months, their new facility was already up and running.
Most of the people in the beginning, they are laughing, but now they are saying to us, my God, this is so good that you have been fighting to do this, to make it right and to get it done.
It's a family business. It's a family business with passion and with a strategy for long term.